Okay, we gotta pray. Y'all got me all fired up. Oh man, you ready? Okay, ready? Let's focus here. Let's focus here. Okay. God, we thank you for your love. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for our wonderful friends. Okay, so I was going to teach about predestination and election tonight, but I want to chew on it a little bit longer, and I want to see it a little bit warm back up. Did anybody read the 2 chapters I sent out yesterday?
Yes.
Well, I'm so proud of y'all. So I'm going to teach on that next week because I am just really retired from last Sunday. I was like, I want to tackle predestination and election today. So I was like, well, what else do I want to talk about? So usually, believe it or not, I don't make these things up the day before. Usually I have a list that God's dealing with me about, and I work myself down the list. I've had this list, not that list. I've had this list for the past 7 months, and I've taught every single one of these to y'all. So usually, honestly, if you looked at all these, there may be some overarching theme that I was unaware of, and we've just preached the longest sermon series known to man. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so I was praying about seasons. Because I think the biggest thing about growing in your spiritual maturity is understanding what season you're in. So I want to start out with this super spiritual act of reading scriptures before we start. Are we good? Okay. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I'm going to start out reading the first portion for us. If you want to turn that in your Bible, God bless you, my child. If you don't, just, I don't know, tone down your ADHD enough to listen to me. How long is it going to take y'all to find Ecclesiastes? I'm just like, I'm not feeling too good about this. I feel the uncertainty.
It's towards the front. It's not.
No, it's towards the front.
I wanted to see how many people restarted.
Y'all eating in my... I started the clock. I should not start the clock. You're eating in my time. Look, it's like somewhere in this region, Ecclesiastes chapter 3. For everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to be plucked up for what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. So I think the key to understanding God and where you are in your life is all about seasons. Psalm chapter 1 says that a righteous man is like a tree planted by rivers of living water. That he's like a tree planted by rivers of living water that bears fruit in his season. That bears fruit in his season. So he's planted exactly where God wants him to be. And he's soaking it all up. He's feeling nourished, confident. He's feeling blessed. It's in the season. There's a time to sow, a time to reap, a time to grow, a time to reflect. In the season of growth, he feels pretty good about where he's at. Because he's being fed by God, he feels confident. Everything is snapping into place. Everything is he doesn't have to force anything. But in the wintertime, the river freezes over. He's no longer bearing fruit, and his leaves are all falling away. And now he's wondering, where am I? What is happening in my life? Now he thought that in the springtime, God put him in the right spot. But in the wintertime, being placed feels more like being stuck. If you don't know the season you're in, it can cause a lot of confusion. I think Then when Christians feel frustration, it's from this. A inability to understand God's will and what season you're in. See, God moves in seasons. Have you ever tried to change the season? You go outside, do a little Navajo wind dance, it won't change it. You can't change it. You can't make spring into summer or fall into winter. You can't change it. You just got to ride it out. You got to pull out your next clothes. You got to get ready for it. The people that hate winter are waiting for summer. People that hate summer are waiting for winter. You cannot change your seasons. They are fixed. Thus is how God operates. God operates within seasons in our life. I notice that I have a hard time figuring out if it's a time to rest or a time to work. If it's a time to feel good about what I've accomplished or a time to grind it out and to grow. If it's a time to feel like I've achieved something or if it's a time to say I have not achieved enough, so I'm going to put my head down and keep growing. You ever feel that way? Like you don't know if you should be proud of yourself or if you should keep driving yourself. But you want to have times where you feel restful and peaceful and that you succeeded, you're growing. Look at the milestones you've accomplished in your life. Then you have times where you know you should be grinding, you should be growing, but yet you feel comfortable. But how do you know when it's a time to do what? How do you know when it's a time to grow or a time to sow? So God allows you to understand Him in certain ways. The righteous man bears his fruit in his season. Only in his season. He's stuck there no matter what. He's in the right spot, the right church, the right relationship. He's even praying the right way. But yet nothing's growing in wintertime. You can be praying the right way. You can be living right. You can be fasting. You can be asking. You can be doing everything right, but nothing is happening in your life. Why? Because you're in winter and not in spring. A lot of times we think when God doesn't respond, it's because something's wrong where we're planted and what's been planted underneath the soul. But it's not that at all. It's a failure to understand what season you were in. You maybe knew nothing wrong. You're just in the wrong season for what you're asking for. Because every season is dependent upon the next. You know you can't have spring without winter. You can't have fall without summer. Every season needs the next. There's this thing called gestation period. God puts a seed in your life. A seed in your confidence, a seed in your ministry, a seed in a relationship. You ever tried to force a friendship? Doesn't work. Be my friend. Please love me. Doesn't work. You ever tried to force? But it grows, and before you know it, you're friends. You both knew you're the most awkward people, but now you got a friendship. Where did it come from? I don't know. It seemed to just happen in its season, in its own time. So God will give you a seed, okay? And He'll allow you to plant it in the season that is to plant, the time to sow. And now you're waiting for the time to reap, but you must endure a change of season, the gestation period. We get so impatient with God. God, when's my time? When's it going to happen? We discount so many miracles like this. We think that miracles happen this way. That if it doesn't happen, if someone walked in with blinded eyes, they said, I need to be healed, and someone prays for them, and they're not healed in that moment, we think that it wasn't a miracle, that God's not going to use it. You ever start to realize that maybe God doesn't always have to have momentary healings, but progressive healings? Why does nowhere in the Bible does it say that God only does healings in an instant and doesn't do healings progressively? God is the God that spent 7 days making heaven and earth. God is the God that showed us that He is the God of process, of relationship, of depth. Why would God be a junk food miracle God, hot and ready when you want it, and not ask you to do the deepest things, the deepest transformations, like blinded eyes being opened, like cancer shriveling up, but we won't let Him do it in a process? If someone prays for you, a destiny, a healing, confidence, joy, if you ask God for something and God said, I'm going to give it to you, but it doesn't happen in our timetable or in that service and you'll feel different, we think that God's not doing it. We discount that God is the God that plants things inside the soul. And God wants you to tend the soul and wait for it to grow in its right season. Here's how you know that you're not understanding what season you're in. Frustration. Frustration is a symptom of not understanding what season you're in. You ever tried real hard to change? Like you're wanting to make stuff happen. You're wanting things to grow. You've been sowing, you've been praying, but everything feels like a dry heave. You've been trying to make the relationship work. You wonder, some of you have been praying so long that God allowed you just to meet somebody. We don't even have to date. I just want to know their name. I just want to have just an option. And you're like, man, God, where is... And it doesn't happen. And you're like, it's never going to happen. Look, y'all, I waited till I was 21, not by choice. Okay, I prayed. Okay, I prayed and prayed and prayed. Didn't happen. I was like, man, something must be wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. Then all of a sudden, in a matter of like 2 weeks, like we're confessing our love to each other. Why? Change of season. I could not have handled a relationship before I grew a prayer life. I could not have handled a relationship at the beginning of my youth ministry. It would have dissipated, and I wouldn't have had the chance to grow and to get to know all of y'all. So God allowed things to happen in His season. The worst thing that you can do to your life is make God do things out of season. You ever think something that was right, and you thought that it was still right, and you tried to eat into it, and that banana was black, and that peach was sour? It can be out of season. You ever pluck an apple too soon? It's sour and bitter. See, giftings, promises, relationships, maturity, things of God happen in the right season for a moment because God is preparing you. In the Bible, God said, I'm going to give you the promised land. Israel, you're coming in. But I am not going to give it to you all at once. I'm going to give it to you, and I quote, little by little. Because if I gave you all the land, you wouldn't be able to handle all the cattle that you're about to acquire. You'd be able to handle all the homes. You'd be able to handle the land I've given you. It would run amok. So God allowed them to win it little by little so they could learn to grow enough, to control enough, to get a grasp on their progression. God would do that with seasons in your life. You don't want to be put in a position where you're not ready. You want to get to know God more each step of the way. And so God will allow you to grow in your life little by little, and the seed will begin to grow. Spring and summer and fall. But how do you know what season you're in? I noticed that there are two mindsets that I deal with, and you deal with as well. Native cultures had this concept that there is a wartime chief. This guy is hyped up, y'all. This guy, all he can think about is enemies and types. All he can see is rumors. All he's doing, he's in his tent where everybody else is chilling. He's sharpening his sword. He is superstitious. He is ready for battle. He's the one that lives battle. He's always working out. He's always hyped up. He can't calm down. He can't negotiate. He's not very good with people. He's rough around the edges because all he does is fight wars. And so in a time of war, the tribe would bring up their wartime chief. He would fight and they'd win. But whenever the battle was over, they had to switch leaders. Why? Because the wartime chief didn't know how to do anything if there was nothing to fight. So he's sitting there and there's no enemy, but yet he hears it. He's in his tent and he's looking around thinking he's hearing rumors and people lurking. There's nothing there to be seen. He's agitated and he doesn't want to go with others. He's not counseling marriages. He's not helping the tribe. He doesn't know how to chillax. So the tribe did this. They would switch their leaders to peacetime leaders. This guy was smooth. This guy could build relationships. This guy could tell stories. This guy was calmer. This guy negotiated with other tribes to avoid wars. This guy knew about harvesting and planting. He knew about things that a peacetime leader had to know about. Two different leaders for two different seasons. We have a wartime mindset, and we also have a peacetime mindset in our minds, warring for our attention every day. But if you have the wrong mindset in the right season, you'll be frustrated and confused. Meaning, you may have prayed really hard, and you may be growing, and you may be blossoming, but yet this mindset of wartime that says you're not good enough, you haven't acquired enough, you're not strong enough, your life isn't ready, you haven't done enough, won't allow you to have peace when God is saying it's a time to reap what you've done. You know you should be proud of yourself. But this little nagging thought in your mind says, no, push, no, become. And it feels like condemnation and insecurity. But God is saying, I need you just to breathe and to have peace in my season. I'm proud of you. But then there's the opposite. I think this is why we never allow the peacetime mindset to work in our minds. Because we're always afraid that we're not growing when we should be. Or we're missing something. Or we're complacent. And we're not becoming. The wartime, you have a peacetime mindset when God is saying grow. God is saying become. God is saying you're not there yet. I have so much more for you. But yet there's a thought that says hashtag self-love. Hashtag blessed. And yet you think that every thought that challenges your self-awareness is condemnation, is insecurity. It may not be. It could be God saying, I want you to become more. I want you to change. I want you to grow. I want you to reach. You are now in a season of sowing. It is now the time to plant some seeds. You're going to miss this moment. I need you to reach. But if you have a wartime mentality during wartime, if you have a working mindset during the time of work, then you'll be in line with God's purpose and release it in your life. You'll be planting when God says plant. And when God says you can rest and be still and know that He is God, and you feel peace. Every one of us in here have known what it's like to feel out of season, but you just haven't put your fingerprint on it yet. I just know when I don't feel right. Something feels off. I feel like I'm missing it. I feel like there's something being spoken, but I can't hear it. I just feel out of sync. You heard that statement before? You ever feel out of sync? Well, God gives you some indicators to understand what season you were in and what the purpose of this season is. It's called burdens. Now, people misunderstand what a burden is. A burden is not a fuzzy, wonderful, super spiritual feeling. A burden feels a lot like depression. I had a burden for young... Y'all laughing about that noise again? Don't mess me up! Don't mess me up. A burden feels a lot like depression. Before I ever met Hannah, I thought like 3 weeks before, 4 weeks before, I had an overwhelming, depressive, heavy, like hole in my soul kind of feeling regarding our youth group. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't get it off of me. And so I was like, God, I don't know, this is going to kill me. I didn't know it was God. I thought it was condemnation, guilt. I didn't know what it was, but it was pushing me. And I started praying for y'all. Stronger than I ever did. I had these nagging thoughts. I was like, how are they living? I was so worried that somebody was addicted to porn, somebody was dating somebody they shouldn't have dated, somebody was being inconsistent at school. I was so ate up with fear about your lives, about your purity, about your confidence. I was so worried. I felt your insecurity. I kid you not. I felt your fears. I felt like I was 13 again. I was like, I'm not hormonal anymore, but I feel it right now. I feel 12 again. I was feeling burdens for y'all. I walked into Wednesdays and watched you walk in, and I would have tears. I remember one time, Chase and Shannon came in, and they just waved and said hi, and walked past, and I started bawling because for some reason I felt a burden for all of y'all that was so heavy upon me, and I had no release but to pray for y'all. Yes, Lord. Let me silence that before we hear God. Well, so I began to pray, and began to pray, and it never went away. Then I met Hannah. Life got really real. I realized that I loved Hannah, and that me and Hannah were going to get married, no matter if no one else knew it or not. But I realized that what was keeping me centered on the youth group was this gaping hole inside of me that said that I need to be there for y'all. Somebody else would have been distracted, and people probably thought that I was distracted. They didn't see the 2-hour car ride to Bowling Green to see her. I was praying and crying for all of y'all. That's not normal, y'all. I should have been distracted, consumed about the girl I just met, and life and everything, because that's what normal people do. But yet there was something inside of me that kept me so broken that I couldn't take my mind off of y'all as well. I studied more. I prayed more. I reached more. Relationships with y'all have grown more in that time than it did even before. And I realized God put a burden in my life to anchor me through the season so that I could keep myself level and focused on everything else. It lifted, and I felt a second burden come upon me. I thought it was God. I wasn't sure. I was new to this whole feeling thing. Burdens are trial and error. You can misinterpret them and get them wrong. You can think it's depression, and sometimes it is. But as you begin to pray, God will show you that this feeling is Him. You'll learn. Second burden. I got an overwhelming, debilitating, like you can't preach, you won't do anything if you don't understand holiness. I mean, I felt it when I was younger, like 12, 13. Like, you should probably learn this holiness thing. I was like, where are my Cheetos and my Call of Duty? And I just went on. I forgot about it. You know, you felt that like that. You should probably like grow in this. And then you forget about it, and you're 17 and wonder why you haven't worked out since you were 12. You know, that kind of stuff. But this time I couldn't escape it. It was debilitating. It was eating at me. So I began to watch every sermon I could watch, read every book I could read. I went from the front of my Bible to the end of my Bible. I learned everything I could about holiness long before I ever decided to teach it. I had no idea, though, that me and Hannah were going to get married soon. And I realized that, oh my goodness, I better teach my little girl about holiness. I better believe it. My daughter. I realized that I had to explain to my kids and to my wife. And I couldn't just be like a few verses and I think this is right and just ask pastor about it. I needed to know it. Because if I can convince my home of it, how can I ever believe it myself or convince anybody else? So I got so consumed with it that every waking hour, I prayed more about it than I ever would have. I watched more sermons than I ever would have. I read more of my Bible about it than I ever would have because it felt like this overwhelming topic that I never could understand when I was 14. But now I had no choice but to learn it. Then I realized later, we ended up doing a holiness month. We talk about that holiness month more than any other thing, and it was 6 months ago. It helped our youth group. It grew us. It united us. There's so much like less questions and like this peace about it now because it's like, oh yeah, we understand it. I wouldn't have done that. It wouldn't have went there if God hadn't put it on my chest until I learned it. Second burden that happened to me was I felt this overwhelming insecurity that I would never preach, that I wasn't good enough. So I began to watch every preacher I could, every style, every type of ministry, those that interpreted, those that were prophets, those that were more teachy, those that went deep, those that went shallow, those that were hyped, those that were really serious. I watched them all and learned every trick of the trade. I learned every style. I learned how to approach the pulpit, how to call an altar call. I wanted to be like an athlete, learning people that were on the field now how to play. I thought, okay, and it helped me. I grew a lot. But this last season, I felt so much guilt and shame and the same burden about not watching any messages. I told Devin about it. We've talked about it several times. I was like, that's weird. Why would God do that to me? Because I thought I'd always have to watch him to always have to grow. And God spoke to me and said, hey, Jack, these have been seasons. The last 4 of them, you know them. They were ordained in your life. This last one, I want you to stop listening to the voices of others so you can learn to trust your own voice. Learn to trust your own revelations. Learn to trust your own prayer life. Not that you haven't before, but there's just been this insecurity. You think you need to hear them to be creative. I want you to trust in you. Well, if you were here Sunday, I hadn't listened to a sermon in like 2 months. And Sunday, I don't know what happened. If you were here, the anointing fell. It was so much beyond what I anticipated. I felt nothing, but yet people were like freaking out. I was like, God, what is happening? I didn't study different. I didn't pray different. I didn't do anything differently. All I said is God used me like every single time. But yet, it was like there was a veil where like I would say something and somebody would feel it, but I didn't realize like the weight of the words. We were praying over the service, and I began to feel like things were landing in people's lives. Like I would say something in faith that I just wanted to pray, but then I was like, that's for them, that's for them, that's for them, and that's for them. And I had people come to me afterwards and say, you have no idea what was happening. I was like, you don't have to tell me that. I don't know what's going on. But then God showed me, because you heard me in the season, you were able to trust your own voice in that service. Because you found my purpose in the season and you were living the right way. You planted the right thing at the right time, and I was able to release my will in your life. God will do that to you. You'll feel this weirdness about something. I just don't feel good about it. I don't want to talk to them right now. This door feels good. This door doesn't. And as you grow sensitive to it, you'll know where you are in your walk with God and where God's going to take you. But it's all about learning the seasons. Okay? I want you to think about something you've been praying about. This is the seed. Okay? Boot thing, ministry, winning Gonda, whatever it is for you. This is the seed. You got it? You got the seed in your mind? What is your seed? You good? Okay. God gives you a season to plant it. A particular season. Only seeds can be planted in spring and summer. Not in fall and winter. If you miss the season in which to plant the seed that God's given you, you have to wait till the next cycle of seasons. You may miss your opportunity. There are certain seeds that only can be planted in certain seasons in your life. Never again will you be a teenager. Never again will you be a college student. Never again will you be 22. Never again. There are certain seeds that only can be planted now. Certain seeds about your purity. Certain seeds about your integrity. Certain opportunities. You'll never get to affect a youth group when you're 35 like you could when you were 14. You'll never get the chance to learn about God. Get some Holy Ghost character before the light just begins to chew you up. Now is the time to plant the seed. And I wondered, why in my life and why in the lives of young people do we not seem to be able to plant the right seed in the right season? We look back when we're 27 like, man, I wish I'd have done something. Now I want to have a ministry, but I missed it when I was 17. I wish I'd have known that I could have been friends with them. I wish I'd have known that I could have had a relationship with them. I wish I'd have known, and look back, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd have learned this. I wish I'd have taken this opportunity. And you stand there holding a seed that is out of season now. And you wonder, how did I miss it? And I realized it's because of a lack of awareness. A lack of awareness about what we are, about what mindset God is putting inside of us, about what the clouds look like, how the trees are looking, where we're planted, what we need. We have the wrong mindset in the wrong season. We're planted in the right place, but we don't understand where God is. We don't know that we need to grow, so we think we're okay. Or we have grown and we can feel confident, but yet we're still shackled by insecurity that crucifies our faith. We're sitting there, and I think that if you pray this prayer every day, God, give me spiritual awareness to see me the way you see me, to see this time in my life the way you see it. I only get this one time now. How can I pray now as a teenager? How can I impact my youth group now? When you look back and you think about your young life, do all you want to remember is Dr. Pepper's and Fortnite? Or do you remember something deeper? I took that seed. Y'all laugh like conviction to sweep this room. That was my life. But it's Battlefront 3, y'all on PS2. There's certain scenes I'll never get back. So I wish I was 16 and I prayed, but I didn't. But you had the chance. I just want to make sure that you ask God, give me awareness so I can plant it in the right time. When you plant it, you got to wait. If you miss the season, it's over. You plant it, you will not see the fruits of some things until you're older. You will not see the fruits that you plant, of seeds you planted when you're 14 until you get married. And you'll go, oh, that helped me out. You're going to plant seeds now that are going to show up the first time you get behind a pulpit and go, oh, that helped me out. You're going to plant seeds now in the classroom that's going to affect you in your workplace. And you had no idea because the season had to take their shape. And something's growing underneath. Something's growing underneath. I'd say one more thing. You cannot judge your growth by ground level. Some of y'all had me worried. Some of y'all, especially the older ones, some of y'all had me worried. When you were like 12, I was like, oh God, I don't know how they're gonna make it. But I prayed for y'all over and over and over again. And God taught me something. Growth, when it comes to my spirit, cannot be judged by what you see on the ground. That most growth happens in the roots. Most growth, they spread, they go deep, they interlock. Most things don't show growth for years to come. And God said, don't worry about what you see on the ground. Just keep planting seeds now and they will show up later. And you know that's been the case. You can point back in your life where God has planted something. You didn't realize the purpose of it, but now you know. That makes a lot of sense. I have prayed about seeds that are planted in your life 4 or 5 years ago, but that are now being manifested. You had no idea. But now, you may be the person that's just now planting a seed. And you don't know. 5 years of waiting may crucify your faith, but you got to trust that the season will roll on and God will bring it forth in His timing. So, where are we at as a youth group? What season are we in? I've been praying about it. And you'll have personal seasons. You'll have your family will have seasons. The church will have seasons. You have seasons in your prayer life. You'll have seasons. You got seasons for everything. You got Christmas seasons. You got seasons. Seasonal sale. This is crazy. Okay. You have a season in every different area of your life. Romantic seasons, spiritual seasons. This is crazy. Where are we at as a youth group? I think we're kind of in the winter. I feel like we just came out of the fall. Things were snapping, prayer meetings were clicking, people were praying, you were growing, there was exploration and faith. We were unified, relationships were being formed, new people were coming. And things were snapping into place. You felt good about being a part of this youth group. You came to church and you looked forward to it. You looked forward to youth. And things began to flow and feel natural. It was fun. Random things would happen that would deepen our experience. But now I feel like the season's kind of changed. We planted seeds. We were there. We learned about holiness. We learned about prayer. We had a breakthrough prayer meeting. But now we're kind of in a winter. Not a bad thing. It happens. Seasons are fixed. You can't change them. But in the winter breeds disconnection and a lack of enthusiasm, connectivity, and awareness. In this season I feel like we're having a hard time understanding how much the youth group means to all of our lives. I'm not talking about the youth group as like a department, but like the person sitting next to you. I feel like you know, but you haven't reminded yourself, what would your life be without these people that believe things like you? Would you live holy if people around you didn't live holy? Who would you be if all you had were people at school and you couldn't come to church and find them on Fridays and Wednesdays? What would your life be like without the youth group? Without hyphen? I know, Fridays sometimes they get boring, but imagine if you never could have went to a Friday. How that affected your life. Imagine if you never had a Wednesday. I know you don't want to be down here all the time. Imagine if you never ever, right now, you never could come back to Wednesday. How would that affect your life? If you never got to talk to the person next to you ever again. If you never got to come back to the church. If this was your last service and you never saw me. I never got to teach you another lesson. I never got to reach to you another time. How would that feel? Would you feel like you missed out on a season in your life? Would you feel like you missed out on an opportunity? How would you feel? Where are you now in this season of your life? You're a certain age, you're in a certain church, you have a certain youth group. What are you holding that you can plant? And is that season going to pass? Are you going to graduate? Are you going to move? Is something going to happen in your life that's going to change the season? Have you truly accessed the benefits you have in this point, this time, in this setting? You're planted here. Are you getting all the benefits of where you are? You've been given opportunities. Are you truly planting them? Are you truly recognizing and appreciating? Are you truly connecting to those around you in this season of your life? Because it will pass. And half your youth group may backslide. Because mine sure did. Will you reap it? I was going to stand and pray, but we're just talking now. How would you feel if I could fast forward you to your 32? Russell and I were talking about all the people in his youth group that are backslidden. How would you, if we fast forward 10 years and you knew that you could have done something to invest in someone's life, but they're gone now, how would you feel? You'd feel mad. I wish I would have seen that season. I wish I'd have, prayed more. I know I was young. I know I didn't have the awareness, but I wish I did. You'd felt like you were trapped by the season you were in, and you wish that you could go back and you could reinvest. Well, why have that? Why have that 20 years from now? Why have that 10 years from now? Why have that 12 years from now? Why not ask God, what do you want me to do now? You can be 12 and pray someone to do in this youth group. You can be 17 and you can win a soul. You can teach. You can grow. You can have visions. You can be using gifts of healing now. Because I see youth groups fall apart. I see people graduate. I see churches go through ebbs and flows. And I just see that there's been so many seasons missed. Nobody appreciates what they got in the season that they got it. It's usually in the fall that you appreciated summer. It's usually in the dead of winter that you wish that you could still wear a short sleeve. I think when your friends are gone, you're in danger of recognizing that they meant so much to you. I think when the youth group's gone, that you realize finally how much they meant to you. I think when you're an adult, you realize the chances you had to grow in Him. And so you've learned that there's this thing called my flesh. You've learned this dual nature. What you want to do, but what your flesh makes you do. In every service, you've kind of learned how to fight that. I don't want to jump, but I know I need to jump. I don't want to pray, but I know I need to pray. And you've kind of felt through that. You don't always understand it. You don't always conquer. But you know, I need to fight myself. I cannot trust myself. I need to push for myself, push for my friends, push for the service. You've learned this. Young ladies, you have not faced the demons they face in their minds yet. You face different demons. This time, I need to break through. Okay? Stay with me. God, we thank you for your love. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your mercy. God, allow this word to get inside of our hearts and change our actions. In Jesus' name.